Hello and welcome to our reborn painting class, where we are learning how to paint a reborn doll after our Eritrean friend Sarah. The head is almost finished already, depending on whether you want to root it or not. But the arms don't really match the head. Look at that, that isn't the same color yet. So in this lesson I'm going to teach you how to bring depth and color onto the arms so the skin tone will match the face, and how to create beautiful hands as well, and how to paint them in a way that looks realistic and not as if we just added some layers of brown, but like the skin is breathing. I'm going to teach you all of that today. Before we get started, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when our next video comes on. This is episode 9 already and I cannot wait to get started. Let's go! Let's get started with the dark areas of the arms. So here we have the arms, and we're going to first darken the dark areas with a beautiful brown glaze. You're going to need 70% brown earth with 30% of burnt umber. 70% brown earth with 30% of burnt umber. Add medium in the middle. Clean your brush, because otherwise you will have too much brown. And then again 95% of medium with 5% of paint. And mix it very well, because again we don't want to have any stripes on our doll. Let's try on our translucency paper. That is a beautiful color, but a little bit too thick in my opinion, too dark, so a little bit more. 95% of medium with 5% of paint. Okay, take the paint off and try again. Yes, that's a bit lighter. Okay, we're going to start with our smallest brush, and first we're going to go over the creases. We're going to go over the creases, and this is too dark obviously, so we're going to blend them out. We're just going over the main crease, which means we are going over the biggest, thickest creases, and the thin ones we're going to leave empty. Inside of the hand, in between the fingers, and underneath the fingers, and in between. Again, blend. And in the folds of the thumb, and in the folds of the other fingers, and then the shadow underneath the nails. Exactly. And then turn, oh, we've got this crease. And then turn around for the shadows underneath the other nails. Look at that, gorgeous. So we're still doing the creases. Let's do the creases on the upper hand and the fingers. So go into all of the little skin folds. And this does take some patience and some practice. What is most important is that you don't have too much paint on your brush. So it won't be piling up, but it will be a thin glaze in between the creases, and then blend it out. and in between the fingers, like that, and blend out again. Then the biggest crease is here again. So the dark areas is what we've painted brown and what we've painted blue. Okay, now get your round brush with your rounded tip, and we're going over all the dark areas. What we can see in the reference photo of Sarah is that her hand is a bit darker than her arm itself. So we're going to paint the hand first. And only until here, because as you see in the reference photo, this is how far it goes, the pigment, and then blend out beautifully. And then we're going to accentuate the rest of the dark areas as you've practiced in your ebook or in your printed version of the book. You've practiced marking out the dark areas, and you can use your own pictures from the book for that, or you can use my pictures that I painted for you to give you some help. Okay, the elbow is always a bit darker, and let's just spread it out a bit more and blend out the edges, very important. I feel like my sponge is a bit too dry. When the sponge is a bit moist, it's a lot easier to blend out, because this is water mixable paint. It's acrylic paint, which makes it so much easier to use a bit of water to blend. Not too much, of course, because otherwise all the pigment will break down and you won't see anything anymore. All of the creases you can find in the arms, so also if you do the other arm later, find all of the folds and the creases that you can find, just like this. And then lastly we're going to do the shoulder and the armpit, and the contrast is higher than it's going to be, because these are some under layers, and after this when we make layers, full layers of paint for the whole arm, all of it will come together. So no worries if your contrasts are a bit too high and you're like, well, it's not realistic yet. Well, of course, because these are the undertones, but we're getting closer to the skin tone already, which is gorgeous. Okay, now repeat the same step with the other arm. All of the main creases, so this one and the folds in the hand, and then all of the creases you can find is this one, this one, this one, and the shoulder and the armpit. And don't forget the creases on the hand and the creases and the shadows under the nails. It's time to deepen the red areas. So we're going to make a beautiful red by 50% nails red and 50% Naphtol crimson. Nails red, Naphtol crimson. And once we've made a mixture of that, we're going to add, if this is 100%, we're going to add 20% of our brown mixture, which consists of 70% brown earth with 30% burnt umber, so that this color is more similar to the skin and everything will blend out more beautifully. Well, when you've got this red, you need 5% of our brownish red with 95% of medium or thinner. Mixing a little bit of our main skin tone into the other colors that we use will really help with forming some unity and make everything look put together. Okay, let's try this red on our translucency paper. That's still a bit too dark. So 5% of red with 95% of matte medium. And it's getting redder and redder because there was still some red left in my brush. Okay, this is a beautiful red now. Mix it right. Try again. Oh, look, this is perfect. Let me clean the brush so there's not too much red in there. And let's start with the hands. So we're going to paint the red areas as I have painted here, or as you've been studying in your ebook or your printed version of the book. And let's go over the inside of the hand and blend it out nicely. Yes, let's attach it to each other. And then the inside and the tip of the fingers, inside of the hands and at the sides and around the nails, and the other ones as well. For this you have to be a little bit precise. The sides of the thumb and underneath the nail. All right, perfect. Now we're going to make a little bit of a shadow around all of the knuckles. Not around, but around the creases is what I wanted to say, on the knuckles. And in here. And inside the edges. Okay, we're going to paint the knuckles themselves red too and blend them out nicely. And the thumb. Gorgeous. Now we have this layer still. We're going to use them in the dark areas as well to darken them a little bit more and to match them more with the skin tone. Okay, inside of the elbow and only on top of the middle of the elbow. And only the edge of the arm, of the upper arm, so the shoulder, like that, to give it a little bit more depth. So to repeat, we did the inside of the hands. You can do that with the other arm as well. The tips of the fingers, the wrist, the elbow, inside of the elbow, and the edge of the shoulder. And of course we're going to do one tiny little layer of this one on the nails as well. The nails. Okay, when the nails are done and the fingers are dried, we're going to use this glaze on the whole fingers to bring them all together. So only the outside, only the top of the fingers. The inside of the fingers you can leave. But we're going to bring the top of the fingers together like that, and the rest of the hand too. Yes, okay. Blend the edges between the fingers and repeat the same process on the other arm. Now we're going to do a skin tone mottling with red and brown earth, and I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful tone. You're going to need 50% of brown earth with 50% of burnt umber to make a new mixture on the side. 50%, then together to make a beautiful, rich, dark brown skin tone. Mix that, and then you're going to need, if this is 100%, and you're going to add 50% of nails red to the mixture. So 50% of your brown with 50% of nails red together. This will give a rich brown reddish skin tone, and you're going to need 90% of medium with 10% of your mixture. Okay, I feel like this is too dark. We're going to need a little bit more of medium. Whoops, that is too much. That is way too much. So you don't need that much. That's a shame. That's a waste of medium. If medium gives a bit of a shiny base, if that is too shiny for you, you can use, instead of medium, you can use thinner. But the problem with thinner is that it dries a lot quicker. So you have to work even quicker, which is harder, but everything has its pros and cons. This color is perfect. It's a reddish brown skin tone, and we're going to mottle the whole arms except for the inside of the hands. We have already mottled that with some lighter modeling. So when we start with the hands, you can use small little dots. And on the fingers, even smaller dots. And blend in between. Because you don't want them to be looking like dots, you want it to be looking like modeling. Like little tiny capillaries and skin structure, as if there are veins and blood vessels beneath the skin. So it shouldn't look like there are dots laying on top of the skin, but like there is some veins going on underneath the skin. That is why we blend them out so much. And blend again. If you have a hard time blending things out with a sponge, you can also use your dry brush for this blending. Okay, and we're doing it in parts, as we always do. So first underneath the underarm, not underneath your underarm, but I meant on the underarm. And model all of the underarm. It's crazy how much depth that and how quickly that brings depth. And the nice things about sponging is that the pattern appears on the sponge, and that way it overlaps itself, which gives a beautiful realistic look. Okay, then the other side of the underarm. So when you are painting skin glazes, it's very important to have very thin glazes, but with modeling it doesn't have to be as thin as the skin glazes, because you're dabbing them on and the pattern will repeat themselves on the sponge, and that way you will have to paint less modeling blobs, because the sponge will copy them down multiple times and they cover each other, which I think is pretty. And look how much the skin tone already changes with only some modeling. And don't forget to model the elbow thicker, because that part is going to be darker, and you can use thick modeling like this to make it appear darker than the rest. The temperature of your environment, let me take this off because I have to take it off now because it dried too quickly. It's the temperature today is high, and then if it dries too quickly it will dry ugly, and then you will see the little dots, which means you will have to blend quicker and model smaller parts so they don't have the chance to dry. Yes, this is better. In between, because we don't want them looking like dots, we want them to look like as if there is a skin layer. There's multiple skin layers on the arm. So because it's a little bit dry in here and it's a little bit warm, I'm going to model in more parts than I used to do. So the amount of different areas you paint in before you blend depends on your climate, your temperature at home. Okay, wow, look how everything is coming together with this modeling layer. Only 2 more layers to go. The next layer we're going to deepen the blues, and after that 1 more skin layer. In this layer we're going to deepen the blues and also the dark areas with 5% of phthalo blue and 95% of medium or thinner. We're starting with the nails, which means we're going to start with our smallest little brush. As you can see, my nails, the under part of my nails is a lot more purple blue than the upper part, and you can see that in the reference photo as well. So we're going to start and paint half of the nails with a tiny layer of blue. So only half of the nails, tiny layer of blue. And what you can do is then blend the edge so you don't have big stripes with your dry brush. So the underside, the under part of the nails, and blend off the edges. And blend like that. Gorgeous. Okay, now we still have this blue. We're going to paint a little bit of a bluish color and a little bit of purplish color on the inside of the hand, because there's a lot of veins always visible in the inside of the hand. Also a little more at the inside of the fingers. There's always some veins visible at the inside of the fingers, just a little bit of rough veining. Okay, now get your rounded brush and we're going over all of the dark areas with our little blue glaze once more. So the wrist, and then blend it out, of course. Blend it out. Also the shadows and underneath the nails. Underneath the nails. Yes, and blend. And underneath the thumbnail and a little shadow there. We were also adding some shadows to the knuckles. And blend them out. Okay, now the inside of the elbow. Blend it out. And only the top of your elbow. And blend it out. Okay, now search for the rest of the creases that you can find on your arm. All of the little folds. And as you see, I go over the lines of the folds because it's more like a shadow. Okay, inside of the armpit, and then only the like 1 centimeter onto the edge of the shoulder, and then blend it out. So, and then we're almost done for this lesson. If this is dried, we're going to do one more skin layer, and then it's time for details. Go over the areas over the whole arm with your one tip and remove all of the dust or lint of hair that you can find. Okay, let this dry for about an hour, and then we're going to finish with a skin layer. Our last layer is the skin layer, and since I got way too much matte medium, I'm only going to cover half of it, half the palette, with aluminum foil so we can reuse this matte medium. For this layer we're going to need 60% brown earth with 40% burnt umber. We're going to use this matte medium, but we're going to need a little bit more because we're going to cover both of the arms with a full layer of skin, except for the inside of the hands because they're naturally a lot less pigmented with babies of color. Okay, so first our mixture, 60% brown earth, 40% burnt umber for a nice and beautiful dark deep skin layer. And then we're going to need 20% of this color with 80% of medium, which means yes, we are going dark finally. Let's try it on our translucency paper. Look how gorgeous. Beautiful. Starting with the hands because it's most important to not go over the edges of the hands. So we're going to first paint the edges of where the difference between color is going to be for our baby. And so first blend the edges, and then we're going to continue with the rest. Okay. The finger. So this is why it's very important that you only have a little bit of paint on your brush. So, and just like with this edge, we only paint half of the fingers, only the top part, and then we blend the edges out, because it's never a thick stripe, it's more of an even way that it changes. That was not beautiful English, but you know, I'm not a native speaker, I'm trying my best. Okay, also here only half of the finger, both of the fingers, every edge that you can find, only half of it. Don't paint on the fingertip of the other fingers. And you will have to make that into a birthmark if you do. Okay, paint the sides. I mean blend the sides. And then we're going towards the thumb. And again, only the top part of the thumb. And blend out the sides. Yes, gorgeous. And then you can blend the rest of the arms, but the sides and the differences between paint are the most important. Then we're going to go in parts again. So first the lower half of the arm. And I love to see how the skin just comes together. All the tones we've painted underneath the skin are shining through the skin, which is gorgeous. I also always go over the lines a little bit. Blend it out, the bottom half. And then continue with the rest of the arm, the underarm, because we're doing it in parts, because the paint dries very fast. And over the elbow, and then again first the edges, and then the rest of the arms, the rest of the paint on the arm. Okay, now the inside of the upper arm. Just a thin layer, and if you need to blend more often, then blend more often, depending on the warmth and the draught in your room that you're working in. The top of the arm. I see a hair. We don't want that. If you see a hair or anything, take it out with your wand tip. Well, this one doesn't want to get out. We have to use my finger. Okay. Okay, and over the elbow again, and then blend. And when you're done blending, go over with your wand tip to check if there is any dust or lint or hair sticking into your paint. Look how pretty she is becoming. Gorgeous. Okay, do the same with the other arm. And in the next lesson, we're going to do all of the details on the arms, the hands and the nails. I'm excited. If you have made it this far and if you've watched the whole video, comment in the comments the secret phrase, the arms are getting color. And we will see who watched the video until the end. Do you want to be a part of a group of like-minded people who also all want to learn? People of all different levels who can help each other with painting reborn dolls of color. Register for our Facebook group. It is free. It's a private Facebook group. It's a safe space to learn, to complement each other. In the next video, we are going to give some color to the arms. I'm super excited. Will I see you there? Bye!